Hey everyone, 99% of you watching aren't subscribed. Let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and at 1,000 subscribers, we'll drop special stories just for you.
Miko had wandered far beyond the edge of what his tribe called the Knowing Trees. The forest here was older, its silence heavy, its roots tangled in secrets. The light of the second sun bled through thick green canopies like spilled oil. Even the birds were quiet, their usual chatter replaced by a slow, patient hum of insects and something deeper, something pulsing beneath the ground. He walked barefoot, his skin patterned in soot and ochre. The morning hunt had failed. His snares were empty, and game had grown scarce since the rains. The old ones blamed spirits. Miko blamed the tribe's noise, their fires, their waste. He trusted the signs. The way moss bent unnaturally. The way the ground held heat, even when the sun had passed. These were paths, if you listened. And today, something tugged at him like a dream, half-remembered. He knelt by a decaying log, its innards slick with mushrooms and pale larvae. Beneath it, buried in tangled moss and vines, was the object. Not a bone, not wood. A long shaft of something smoother than stone, warmer than metal. It hummed faintly, just on the edge of sense. His fingers tingled when he touched it. A spike extended from one end, not chipped or sharpened, but forged, as if by fire no man in his world had yet tamed. He dragged it free, the vines reluctant to release it. It was heavy but perfectly balanced. He turned it over. No markings, but it felt like something meant to be held, meant to be used. A tool, a weapon, a sign. Fire cracked his memory. His own camp, a rabbit carcass. He returned before nightfall, heart still thundering. The spear never left his hand. By the fire, the others watched him. His brother Vuko laughed and said, "Miko finds more tree garbage." But they watched all the same. He skewered the rabbit with the spear. The meat didn't fall or split. He held it over flame and it cooked clean, the juices dripping evenly, no burnt fur, no raw streaks. A few of the elders muttered prayers. "It is death forged," whispered one. Another spit into the dirt. But Miko's gaze never left the fire, and the fire never left the meat. Something had changed, and that's when he heard it. Not a word, not a grunt or growl, but a sentence. Smooth, perfect, in a tongue older than the oldest elder, but which Miko understood as though it had always been buried in his bones. "Congratulations," the voice said. "Now your species is on the am." The fire dimmed. Time slowed. He stood, eyes wide, spear raised, not from fear, but instinct. The voice had come from behind him, and it was not human. Miko turned slowly, spear poised, his breath frozen in his throat. The air behind him shimmered, not like heat, not like smoke, but like the world itself was uncertain there, as though something unseen was choosing, at that very moment, whether or not to be. Then it materialized. A being stepped into existence without sound. It was tall, taller than any man of the tribe, with skin like water held in glass. It caught the firelight and fractured it into shifting prisms. Two obsidian eyes studied him, unblinking. Its arms were long and draped in layered cloth or armor. Miko couldn't tell, each piece moving like liquid, reacting to the air, the color of the earth, even Miko's own skin tone. He backed up slightly, spear raised. "You will not need that," the voice said. It came not from a mouth, if it had one, but directly into Miko's thoughts, bypassing language and stirring emotion like the scent of a memory. It was calm but ancient, powerful. "I am Oryuan, and you are a statistical anomaly." Miko did not understand words. Not fully, but their weight settled inside, his chest like a stone. Oryuan stepped closer, the moss beneath its feet bending but not breaking. "That spear," it said, nodding toward the artifact in Miko's hand, "was placed here 87,316 planetary orbits ago, one of 6 million embedded across tier 0 civilizations." Miko only stared, jaw tight, every nerve ablaze. "A test," Oryuan said. "A measure." The being turned slightly, as if allowing the forest to witness what came next. "Your kind," it continued, "has reached what we call the moment of M, the threshold of monitored consciousness. Oryuan raised one hand. Instantly, images flashed into Miko's mind, not like dreams, but like memories not his own. A creature with 4 arms crafting a lens from frozen crystal beneath a lavender sky. An insectoid species debating over a glowing cube that emitted sound. A sleek, hairless ape discovering mirrors, then fire, then gods. Each image carried a sound, a feeling, a decision. Evolution not just of body, but of mind. Then he saw Earth. Not just a land he knew, but oceans beyond the horizon. Cities that had not yet been born. Towers tall in the trees. Weapons that cracked mountains. Lights that floated in the sky. He fell to his knees, gasping. Oryuan tilted its head. You are not the first to awaken, but you are the first on this planet to touch one of the tools and use it with intentional logic. You did not worship it. You did not destroy it. You adapted it. The spear felt suddenly heavier in his hand. We now observe. We do not interfere directly. You will not see me again unless the trajectory is broken. What? Miko croaked, the word barely sound. What happens now? Oryuan's form flickered, as if the act of remaining visible required effort. Your world is no longer in the wild zone. Your species is now classified as proto-aware. From this point on, your choices echo wider. You are being measured, not for survival, but for worth. Miko looked up, his eyes locked to the aliens. Worth to what? Oryuan's body split briefly, like ripples in overlapping water. A network of light revealed itself beneath the skin. A web of billions of thoughts and memories, streaming like stars in a galaxy. Then it answered. To the network of minds. To the archive. To those who came before. To the billions who failed. You are now on the M, the monitored path. It stepped backward, merging with the shadows. The light from the fire bent toward it, then swallowed it entirely. Gone. Miko sat alone in the night, spear cooling in his hand. Behind him, the rabbit still sizzled, half-cooked. Above him, the stars blinked with sudden, impossible awareness. The weeks that followed were not marked by time, but by change. Miko no longer hunted, as he once did. The spear had not left his side since the night the being appeared. He wrapped the haft in hide, adorned it with stones and teeth, not for worship, but for balance. He discovered could pierce bone without splintering, pass through thick animal hide like wind through leaves. The tribe called it Skytooth, but it was not the weapon that made them fear him. It was the drawings. On the 3rd day after the encounter, Miko began carving into stone with maddening precision. His fingers worked faster than thought, his eyes unblinking. Circles within circles. Lines that converged like rivers toward a mouth. Structures. Ratios. Shapes no one had taught him. The elders watched, first with curiosity, then with dread. Vuko, his brother, spat at the symbols. These are not a forest, he said. He writes the language of the burned ones. But others whispered a different fear. He understand the sky. Soon, Miko constructed a frame of branches that turned with the wind. It had feathers lashed to its spokes, and it made a strange whirring sound. At night, he placed pebbles around it in spiral patterns. In the morning, he observed their shifts, predicting storm clouds, wind patterns, the flow of animals. His traps caught double the meat of others. His fire pits cooked food evenly with no ash. The women began asking him to mark their huts with his symbols. Warriors asked for etched stones to carry into the hunt, but not all were impressed. On the 14th night, a boy fell sick, his skin cold, his eyes yellow with fever. The tribe prepared for morning. Miko stood silently, observing. He drew a diagram in the dirt, then asked the boy's mother to place leaves in a spiral and hang wet bark over fire. By morning, the boy breathed cleanly. His fever vanished. So did the doubt. That was the night. They began calling him something else. He who hears the stars. But the forest had begun to change too. Birds circled high, but did not descend. Animals grew restless. Sometimes the fire would spark in strange colors, blue, green, violet. One night, a shadow passed over the sky with no wings, no sound. It moved like a falling leaf, but slower, too slow. And then the disappearances began. The first to vanish was Okai, a young hunter. He was returning from the river when a column of blue light sliced through the trees. The air turned hot and still. The leaves glowed faintly for hours afterward. They found only his spear, humming softly, stuck point down in the soil. Then Nara and Bale were taken, both children. No blood, no tracks, just light. The tribe demanded answers. The fire circle burned hot as the elders screamed and pleaded with Miko. What spirits have you called down? What curse did you bring? Return the spear. But Miko, calm and distant, stood and placed his hand over his chest. They are not gone, he said. They have been taken, marked, as we all have been. He pointed to the sky. They said we are being watched. They said we are being weighed. Every choice we make, every word is measured. A hush fell. You mean gods? Someone asked. Miko shook his head. No, not gods, not demons, witnesses, and they are waiting to see what we become. The fire crackled. Someone sobbed. Far off, a low hum rolled through the trees, almost like a heartbeat in the soil. That night, Miko returned alone to the place where he first found the spear. He traced the same path. The moss had grown back, but thinner, paler, as if the earth itself was hesitant to remember. He knelt and whispered, Are you still there? Silence, then a flicker, a ripple in the air, and a single voice, soft and cold. Your species trends upward. Phase 2 approaches. Prepare your kind, or be left behind. The shimmer vanished. Miko looked at the spear, which now pulsed faintly with an inner glow. He understood. This was not the end of change. It was only the beginning. 212 revolutions of the twin suns passed since Miko first raised the sky-tooth over fire. He died without pain, wrapped in fibercloth, beneath the tree where the spear had first emerged. His last words were not of hunting or gods, but of the second fire, greater than flame, born inside the mind. His bones returned to the earth. His stories did not. The age of signal. His descendants, the fire-marked, carried his glyphs as scripture and science alike. They taught that the stars were not distant flames but eyes, and the old world of superstition dimmed as patterns took its place. Villages became networks. Animal paths became roads. Language, once howled in the dark, crystallized into symbol and sequence. They rediscovered magnetism, irrigation, mathematics, each innovation emerging faster than the one before, as if some invisible hand had cracked open the dam of potential. In 2 lifetimes, they shaped copper and quartz. In 4, they built sky lanterns that hovered. In 10, they spoke to the moons. And through it all, high above, the observers watched, the tribunal beyond light. In the orbital shell encircling Earth, 47b, on a station hidden between perception and particle, an assembly convened, not of bodies, but of beings, plasma minds, crystalline will clusters, conscious equations folded in space-time. They had names once. Now they were functions. The tribunal, a million voices hummed within the M field. Subject, Homo 47b. Observation cycle, 873 complete. Status, exceeding initial projections. One consciousness, Oyuan, pulsed gently through the field. They adapted the artifact with no mythogenesis dependency. Tribal friction was reduced rather than inflamed. Recursive logic loops formed in under 5 cultural cycles. Another voice crackled, but pre-phase aggression remains. Pattern deviation during resource strain is non-zero. A third, they ritualize knowledge, not ignorance. Their prime vector is not conquest. It is connection. A silence fell, long and weighty. Then a final voice emerged, cold, sovereign, delivered judgment. A shimmering glyph unfolded in the air, rendered in pure probability. Verdict. Phase 2 approved. Designation. Ascension candidate. Classification. Emerging sentient civilization. The tribunal dissolved. Oyuan remained a moment longer, watching the blue-green world below spin slowly in the cradle of its sun. Back on Earth, the next awakening. Generations later, In a highland valley far from the stone temples of Firemarked, a child wandered into the ruins of the old ones. She was no priest, no scientist, just a girl chasing a luminous beetle through tangled vines and singing moss. She tripped over something buried, smooth, long, cool to the touch. She unearthed a spear, older than any memory, yet untouched by time. She held it in her small hands. The beetle buzzed away. Something inside her stirred. A question she had no words for. A promise she had not been taught. And then, "Hello," said a voice behind her. "Now you are on the M." She turned. There was no one there. Only the wind, the leaves, and a soft hum in her chest. Epilogue. A light through the trees. Above, in space, Earth. 47B lit up in the archive. A slow, pulsing amber on the cartography of the cosmos. No longer feral. No longer hidden. A signal was sent. Not to conquer. Not to summon. But to welcome. One more species had stepped out of the wilderness, lifted its face to the void, and whispered, "We are here." And far beyond them, across the mind web of 1,000 civilizations, the response came, "We see you,